So the whole situation with Bryce Young is, oh my gosh, the Panthers are going to draft Bryce Young at number one. They should have drafted CJ Stroud. They should have, woulda, coulda. David Tepper. The Carolina Panthers have failed Bryce Young. This is not on Bryce Young. I hate to say this, but it's not on him. And it sucks because in the NFL, these quarterbacks are judged on a week to week basis. His leash is short. It's gone, right? I don't think Bryce Young will start another game for the Panthers unless Andy Dalton gets hurt or unless Andy Dalton completely stinks it up. Bryce Young's time in Carolina is done. And shame on the Panthers organization for allowing this to happen. You fired your coach last year in Matt Rule, and then you go and hire Dave Canales, the former Bucs offensive coordinator, and now all of a sudden you're going to bench Bryce Young after 2 games. Now I understand Bryce Young's stats and records, and they're not the greatest, and they're arguably the worst in the NFL throughout his first 18 starts. But when you sit there and you don't give him any weapons, you don't give him any pieces, and you're not uplifting him, and then your owner last year, David Tepper, is basically sitting there saying we should have drafted CJ Stroud. What do you think that does to a QB's confidence? What do you think that does? Bryce Young doesn't want any part of the Panthers. Why would he? Now, I saw a clip of him recording, a clip of him walking. He was signing autographs for fans going to practice. Good for Bryce Young, but this is a Heisman Trophy winner. And now I know everyone says the Heismans don't matter in the NFL. This is a guy who was great in college. Yeah, okay, college doesn't matter, but a lot of guys do translate over. And I still think Bryce Young does have a chance left in this NFL. You saw Baker Mayfield. You saw Sam Darnold. They left the Panthers. And now they're doing much better. The Panthers right now are just in a terrible spot. You traded away all your talent. You traded away McCaffrey. You traded away Brian Burns. You traded away DJ Moore. And Bryce Young is left with what? What are you building around Bryce Young? Isn't the whole goal and the whole point to build around your young rookie quarterback or your young quarterback? He's not a rookie anymore, but this kills his confidence. And now this Panthers head coach Dave Canales said, we're not going to trade Bryce Young. Well, they shouldn't trade Bryce Young. But if I was Bryce Young, I wouldn't want to be there anymore. I would be like, you know what? I'm not going to say trade me, but I'll sit there and I'll have to learn under Andy Dalton again. I'm sure he'll get some more experience and learn under Andy Dalton. But when this season is over, if I'm Bryce Young, I want out. You failed me. I haven't even been able to prove myself. Now, I'm not saying Bryce Young has had the greatest stats because he hasn't. He hasn't lived up to what he's supposed to be. But when you sit there and you don't really surround him with any talent, it's kind of hard to really judge him. No, let's bring this into the conversation here. I saw a thing where they were talking about Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, CJ Stroud. Could any of those quarterbacks survive in Carolina with what they have? I mean, we all had that conversation when Patrick Mahomes got drafted by the Chiefs, and then he went on his merry way, and now he's won 3 Super Bowls. But if they would say like the worst team in the NFL, like right, the Panthers are the worst team in the NFL at the time. It was like the Browns for the Chiefs. If you put Patrick Mahomes on the Chiefs or on the Browns at that time, would Patrick Mahomes be as good as he is now? If you take away Patrick Mahomes' weapons, if you take away his head coach, Andy Reid, who is arguably the greatest coach in NFL history, would Patrick Mahomes still be the same quarterback? That question has to be answered. I'm going to say no. Patrick Mahomes is raw. He's skilled. He's talented. He's got the arm. He's got the mobility. Bryce Young is very undersized. He's not as athletic. He's kind of nimble. He was compared to Russell Wilson, but I know we talk about Kyler Murray and we talk about Bryce Young and the comparisons and Drew Brees and Russell Wilson and those small quarterbacks. Bryce Young is very undersized, but so are those guys. But Bryce Young is not the most athletic guy, but there's really been no improvement and no growth for Bryce Young. Yes, of course, he's undersized, but it's really hard to sit there. And they love the CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, who's better. The Panthers should have drafted CJ Stroud. They shouldn't have drafted Bryce Young. And would CJ Stroud be doing this if he was in Carolina? No, CJ Stroud would not be doing what he's doing in Houston with what he's doing in what he could be doing in Carolina. No way. D'Amico Ryans is a great young head coach. They have pieces. They went out and they actually built around their rookie quarterback. And they even got lucky because they were able to get Will Anderson. They made the really smart trades. So Bryce Young really hasn't had any help. But that's my whole rant about Bryce Young. It's really frustrating to see, a young rookie quarterback kind of be thrown to the wolves. But I really want to briefly move on here. Actually, before we do that, we got to pull up Jamarcus Russell's and Bryce Young's stats. So Bryce Young is at a 59.3 completion percentage. Russell's 53.3. 3,122 yards and 11 touchdowns, 13 picks, and a 70.9 QB or passer rating. Russell's the same, very similar to Bryce Young. Let's not compare Jamarcus Russell and Bryce Young. It's 2 different eras. One guy is a lot bigger compared to the other guy who's a lot smaller. So I think that's a stupid comparison. I don't think Bryce Young is a bust quite yet. Give him some time. I don't think he's I don't think he's done in Carolina. I really hope he doesn't. I really hope Bryce Young gets another opportunity to really showcase his skills and his talent because you haven't surrounded him with anything.